Senator Wicker, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, General Brown. Let me first mention a statutory requirement that you and I have discussed before, 10 U.S.C. 153. It requires the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to complete a Chairman's Risk Assessment, CRA, of the National Military Strategy each year. Now, we have had a problem with this in the past, and a frustration from Congress in not receiving this CRA. Even the National Military Strategy itself last time was unacceptably late. If confirmed, I need your commitment to carrying out the statutes governing the relationship between the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Congress, including submitting the Chairman's Risk Assessment on time. Can I get your assurance that you will do this, General Brown?
Ranking Member Wicker, as we discussed yesterday, I will assure you that I will do my best to make sure we get those documents to you on time, because it's important to allow you and the Congress to do the things you require in order to provide the budget for us and the authorization to execute. Absolutely.
This is a law passed by the Congress, signed into law by the President of the United States some years ago. And if you, as Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, need some additional resources, or if there's something within your jurisdiction that keeps you from doing this, will you let us know so that we can be on time with this very important CRA?
Yes, sir. I will definitely communicate with you if there's any challenges.
Thank you very much for that assurance. General Brown, Congress, let's talk about the Pacific. Congress provided the administration with authority to provide $1 billion in transfers of U.S. equipment authority to help Taiwan. Is it your best military judgment that the usage of this drawdown authority and training would improve Taiwan's ability to defend itself?
Yes, sir, it will. And it'll help them to procure some asymmetric capabilities to defend their nation.
All right. And so I certainly hope that we can move forward with that. I described in my opening statement, General, I described our defense capacity as and our industrial base as clunky. You and I also discussed this in our conversation. Do you agree with my assessment that the bureaucracy and the industrial base are clunky based on the speed with which technology has evolved and changes as compared to how we are able to access that as a military?
I do, and I think it's an area that I think we can all improve upon. We have a great innovation here within our nation, and we want to make sure that we're putting that into the hands of our warfighters as quickly as possible. I also believe there's an iterative process to this, just based on there are so many things that are software-based today, and if we can knock down any barriers to be able to move faster, I'm all for it.
Well, do you have specific plans for how we would do this based on your experience in the various theaters you mentioned?
Some experience, and what I've been able to do is part of this is really how I build those relationships, and that's what I've done as the Air Force Chief of Staff. That's what I did as my previous assignment as the Commander of Pacific Air Forces, is to be engaged and be able to collaborate and figure out where those barriers might be that will prevent us from moving as fast as we need to.
Okay, now let's talk about the European theater and NATO. The Department of Defense leadership regularly states that the department is following the normal process for requirements generated by the European Command. Can we agree, General, that the threat against NATO countries today is far different than it was 3 years ago before the Russians invaded Ukraine and depleted much of their ammunition and capability in this unjust and illegal war?
Yes, sir. I'd say the threat and the security environment are both different from where they were 3 years ago.
Okay. Well, on a bipartisan basis, senators and members of the House have repeatedly asked senior joint leadership staff to lead a dynamic requirements review of the European theater that accounts for this reality. In other words, we were prepared to defend NATO nations against a threat which Russia is simply incapable of doing at this point. Are we able to be flexible enough to admit that and to direct more of our help toward our ally in Ukraine?
Senator, Ranking Member, if confirmed, one of the things I want to be able to do is actually assess where we are. I'm an engineer by background, so doing assessments and doing analysis is how I think about things, and that's something we do need to do, not just for Europe, but I would say for all of our major security challenges, to continue to reassess.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. Senator Gillibrand, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.